Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead, Councilman Fitch.
At this time, we have a special treat for everyone. If you could remain standing. You're going to hear the national anthem sung by Charles Glenn himself. Mr. Glenn. What an honor.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we wide were so gallantly streaming, and their rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay.
Please call the roll.
Councilmember Fitch.
Here.
Councilmember Gray.
Present.
Councilmember Clancy. Here. Councilmember TRAKAS.
Present.
Councilmember Harder.
Here.
Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a quorum.
Very well. Councilmember Fitch, you have a motion?
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules for the purpose of adopting and presenting a resolution honoring Charles Glenn on his service to the community and performing the Star-Spangled Banner before the St. Louis Blues home game for 19 years.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Go ahead.
Please read Resolution 1.
Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmembers Fitch, Walton, Gray, Clancy, TRAKAS, and Harder. Resolution, whereas Charles Glenn spent his early years in California, moved to St. Louis during middle school, later attended McClure High School where he participated in band and musical theater, and upon graduation studied music at the St. Louis Community College, Florissant Valley. And whereas upon completing his education, Mr. Glenn, son of an opera singer, joined several bands during his career and toured throughout the country and all over the world, opening for acts that included The Temptations, Smokey Robinson, Earth, Wind and Fire, Meatloaf, Huey Lewis and the News, and the Allman Brothers. And whereas Mr. Glenn eventually founded his own band, the Charles Glenn Group, which has been described as a tight-knit group of musicians that can play any style of music imaginable to deliver a high-energy show the listener will be talking about for years to come. And whereas Mr. Glenn has become known as the voice of St. Louis, in no small part due to his iconic 19-year run as initially one of the national anthem singers for the St. Louis Blues, and after a few years, the Blues' lead anthem singer. And whereas the Blues considered Mr. Glenn a good luck charm that first year as they won a string of games concurrent with his initial performances, and he has certainly proven to be a very, very good luck charm in his final season with the Blues. And whereas after he announced his retirement from the role of Blues anthem singer, Mr. Glenn's run was extended, then again, and again, and again, as the Blues continued their march toward possession of Lord Stanley's Cup. And whereas it is appropriate for the council to pause and appreciate a man who has used his powerful and soaring voice to inspire pride in our nation and in our community, now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the County Council congratulates Charles Glenn upon the occasion of his retirement from his position as anthem singer for our own Stanley Cup champion St. Louis Blues, and wishes him the very best in his future endeavors, which will likely include travel, attending plays and musicals, and spending time with his wife Nikki, his daughter, and his 2 grandchildren.
I move for adoption of resolution number 1.
Second. Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on resolution number 1, there are 5 ayes.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Charles, would you like to have Nikki join us? His lovely wife is here with us tonight. As your county executive, can you join us?
Sure. Any other
Anyone else
council
want to come down?
members? Come on down.
Absolutely.
Come on down, get a picture with Charles.
Thanks. Speak anyway. Oh, tell you that.
They've lost the county executive. Stand next to you.
Thanks, man.
All good? All righty. Okay. Charles, thank you again for giving us your voice for so many years.
This is so unexpected and indeed an honor and a privilege. I will try and continue to represent St. Louis and St. Louis County as best I can. Thank you so much.
Let me get everybody back here and then we'll start. So we have no bid openings tonight,
Mr. Chair.
so we will move on to communications.
We didn't do approval of the journal yet.
Oh, you're right, we did. Okay, let me back up a minute. Is there a motion to approve a journal for the meeting of June 11th, 2019?
I move for the approval of the journal of the meeting of June 11th, 2019.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries, the journal's approved. So with that, I believe we have no bid openings, so we'll proceed with communications.
Mr. Presiding Officer, we have no tax compromises or zoning matters this evening, so we'll move to road and bridge matters. Under road and bridge matters, item number 1, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the street be accepted for maintenance as requested. Please.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on to other communications, sir. Item number 1.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. And that will be the order. Same motion for item number 2.
Item number 3, 4th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 4, all districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 5, 5th District.
Receive, file, and the change of owner be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 6, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th Districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 7, 7th District.
Receive, file, and the agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and the agreement be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and refer to the Department of Transportation and Public Works, the Department of Planning, and the county councilor.
So ordered.
Item number 10.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 11, all districts.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12, all districts.
Receive, file, and the appropriation transfer be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 13, 6th district.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 14, 1st and 2nd districts.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 15, 5th district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 16, 2nd district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 17, 5th district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 18, 5th district.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Excuse me. Item number 19, 2nd district.
Receive, file, and the change of owner be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Please read the add-ons.
Yes, sir. Mr. Presiding Officer, under other communications, we have item number 1, all districts.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Under zoning matters, item number 2, 6th district.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
And additional items under other communications, item number 3.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 4.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 5.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 6.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 7.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 8, 4th district.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered. Report of the county executive.
Thank you. Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Lisa. We've had a lot of good things happening throughout St. Louis County this week, but I'd like to focus my report tonight exclusively on what we're doing to address the conditions and justice in the Justice Center. We've focused a lot of our attention on the delivery of healthcare services. As one of the few non-privatized corrections medicine clinical systems in our region, the Department of Public Health struggles to find adequate staffing to deliver high-quality care. In that context, corrections medicine team has made 92,819 medical encounters each year, and this includes 8,311 primary care and dental visits, 46,158 nursing visits, 23,895 intake assessments, and 11,270 comprehensive medical assessments. In addition to the large volume, the population we're serving in the county jail needs more medical care than the general population. Many individuals who enter an incarcerated setting have limited access to health care prior to incarceration. And they come into our jail with untreated medical conditions, with mental illness, and with substance use disorders. At the county jail in 2018, 37% of the individuals had a substance use disorder, 28% had a mental illness requiring medication, and 3,186 mental health encounters or visits were provided. With that context, we turn to recent visits and recent events in the jail. As I reported last week, we saw another loss of life. We are still looking into the circumstances preceding the death of former inmate Daniel Stout. Mr. Stout died last Tuesday at the state prison in Bonne Terre, Missouri, a few hours after leaving the county jail. A preliminary investigation has prompted us to suspend 3 staff members at the Justice Center pending a full investigation. And if we determine more staff deserve it, we will take appropriate disciplinary action. We will continue to look into the specific circumstances of all the individuals who died. But tonight I want to lay out for you what we have done and will do to improve the Justice Center as we try and set a new course. I do expect that we'll be making appointments to the Justice Services Advisory Committee later this week, and we'll be making those announcements in a day or two. This committee will have a new charge, a new direction for my administration to become more actively engaged into the operations of the Justice Center and providing us advices on policies and procedures. Since I became county executive 7 weeks ago, we have made several key changes at the Justice Center, and more changes are coming soon. We removed, suspended, or reprimanded problematic nurses and other employees. We requested that the American Correctional Association expedite its audit of the Justice Services operations. We requested the Clayton Police Department investigate as to whether there is a pattern of deficiencies at Justice Services. I personally inspected the Justice Service facility, including the jail cells where people have died in our care. I personally read the medical reports of the individuals who died. We established a formalized organizational structure at Justice Services and reorganized top staff to improve effectiveness and efficiency. We increased how often inmates are checked by corrections officers as a way of keeping better track of problems that may arise. We revised withdrawal orders, policies, and protocols to lower the threshold for medical intervention. We changed many other policies to improve medical care, including increased oversight of inmates, to establish a critical incident review team, and to allow for both corrections officers and inmates to request that inmates receive medical care. We updated the infirmary care manual, and we began exploring ways to improve medical assessments of people brought into the jail. We have also initiated a regular meeting schedule and strengthened communications between the county's chief medical officer, emergency medical services in Clayton, and the St. Mary's Emergency Department director to coordinate care and share information in a timely manner. We are preparing to install cameras in the Justice Center's infirmary. To promote transparency, we are putting all Justice Center policies online. We have started a recruitment drive to fill vacancies with the best possible personnel, while we also are developing a plan to improve the work culture in the jail. And Justice Center leadership has met with jail staff to clearly outline our expectations for professionalism, performance, and compassion in the services we provide to those in our care. Partly because of these reforms, the Justice Center completed a successful accreditation audit from the American Corrections Association. Just this month, the association gave our Justice Center a preliminary recertification with 100% compliance on core standards and 97% compliance on non-core standards. I personally met with the association's audit team and questioned them at length about Justice Center's performance, policies, and personnel. But we can do better, and we will do better. Simply put, the Justice Center is not good enough. So we are continuing to look for opportunities for improvement. One thing we've seen is that the medical care offered at the jail needs to improve. So we are searching for a medical doctor who will work full-time at the jail, and this will allow for better response times, better training for nurses and staff, and improved quality of care. And we need long-term leadership at Justice Services that can manage these changes and steer the department through the challenges ahead. So we will begin conducting a national search for a new director of Justice Services. Lieutenant Colonel Doyle continues to perform well as an interim director and has my confidence. But he and I agree that the department needs long-term leadership to implement the kind of systematic changes that we need to make. The Department of Justice Services and the Department of Public Health will continue to identify new ways to innovate in the care and the treatment of those who are in custody. And I will keep you updated about those changes moving forward. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sam. Report of special committees. Ethics Committee, please hold on the order of business. That will be the order.
We have 10 speakers this evening, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Okay, before we proceed, I'd just like to remind our speakers that council rules request and require that you limit your remarks to 3 minutes so that we can give everyone equal time to get their statement on the record and heard by the council. So I would appreciate everyone's cooperation in trying to adhere to that limit. Some grace will be given, but with 10 speakers, if everyone adheres to it, it's already a half an hour. So I would appreciate your at least trying to adhere to the time limit. With that, we'll proceed.
Maria Carr is the first speaker.
Hello, my name is Maria. I'm from Wilson Church. And Mr. Sam Page, I appreciate what you just said. Of course, my family here to shout that we greatly appreciate that you all are working to get this taken care of.
Ma'am, Mr. Presiding Officer, we ask the speaker to pull the microphone toward her,
Sure,
please.
thank you. Again, good evening, everyone. Now I'm all chopped up. We greatly appreciate you all doing what you all need to do. All right, we're gonna continue to say his name, Lamar the real catcher. We lost him too soon. And by your speech, what I was gonna say, you already addressed what we needed to hear. We understand this has been the fourth death in the jail. And by what you just spoke, that you're working on it so it won't be any more deaths in the jail. We just need everybody to be considerate of the inmates and consider of if your family member was pulled over for the speeding ticket and was in St. Louis County Jail. We want the nurses, the doctors, the correctional, we want everyone to put their family member in there and make sure their family member is going to be taken care of. Nobody want that call and said, I'm in jail for a ticket, and then somebody get the call or knock on the door and say, my family member has just passed. Nobody wants that. So I just appreciate that you all are working on it. What you just said, Mr. Page, we greatly appreciate it, and we just hope it get better. Again, say his name, and his name will never be forgotten. No more the real catching. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Natasha True.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. Good evening.
My name is Natasha True, and I live in Forest, Missouri. I had this written all out, but I'm still going to speak on it. And I stand before you today regarding the situation
Okay,
that I
Mr.
just...
President, again, ma'am, can you,
Adjust the microphone there so we can catch you for the
that's not the
recording.
microphone. The one by your right hand is the microphone. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, I stand before you today regarding the situation at our Justice Center and the well-being of our community at this time. There is an attack on the poor by our government. We are dying, being mistreated by the people we pay to trust with our lives. The government is covering for bad employees. Wesley Bell and council members both have refused to actually handle the situation with bringing charges against rogue employees, and refuse to talk with regular citizens regarding any of the outrageous behaviors going on inside the jail system. When you, Mr. Page, said that the ninth floor was open and we would see transparency, that was not the case. Instead, I feel as though we are being placated with promises by the secret society of the government, which believe if they show little interest, we will eventually go away. But people are dying from lack of care, which they are unable to provide for themselves. If our regular citizen could think of rules and protocols that the jail can initiate to improve quality of life, then I'm sure you can also. With example, for instance, starting with body cams or just plain surveillance. What's so secret about holding inmates that it can't be recorded? I know the problem. It would shed light on wrongdoing by the guards, for one, and it also would show proof that inmates have done or have not done actions. We can also have independent reviews of the jail, but again, Mr. Page have yet to set up any of these committees of people up. And if he did so, did the public have a chance at seats? They help decide our future. Or will it also be filled with people who don't really identify with the issues of the poor, just think it's the social thing to do? When would our council do what they are paid to do, serve the community? It should not be different rules for the government when you accept the job and don't do it, which causes neglect and death, then off to jail and license revoke you go. Instead, we have this going on all over the United States. It's just not here in Missouri, but we can start the change right here, right now. You have the opportunity to show the nation we will not tolerate rogue employees or mistreatment of inmates in our jail system that we said we will rehabilitate to re-enter the community better individuals, but instead they are getting toe tagged and robbed of second chances to be a better them. We need to demand change. Instead of pet projects that truthfully only serve the 20% with the money y'all spend, why don't y'all get projects that actually help the 80% of us that's poor and paying y'all taxes with our tax money? Why don't we get some service, because we're not getting any? And I heard everything you said, and I appreciate everything you said about the changes, but this process is really slow, and we can't keep on seeing death by we trying to decide what to do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Reverend Phil Duval.
Reverend Phil Duval, 8434 Falmouth, Ferguson. Good evening, Council. It's been a while since I've seen you guys, but I'm happy to report this, that, and I won't single out the council people, but I want to thank their staff for being responsive when we have heard things, and they've been very diligent in following up. So those council persons know from talking to their administrative assistants that they have been responsive. I feel compelled to share this story of what I encountered last Friday. I received a phone call from a gentleman from Las Vegas, Nevada, who has a family member in the Justice Center. This is an older gentleman, and the inmate is currently 62 years old, and he has a heart condition. And as I listened to the sense of urgency in his voice, he said, "This is what has happened. My brother has just talked to me and said, I'm not receiving my medications for this heart condition, and I hadn't received them in 7 days. Now, I'm going to break my own HIPAA law for myself. I just had triple bypass a few months ago. I've had heart conditions for at least 4 or 5 years. So I'm familiar with some of the medications and how important they are. And I'm not stating I'm a doctor, I'm just stating that I have myself received some of the same care. So the urgency of hearing what some of the medications, I immediately picked up the phone, shared it with one of the council persons, and also contacted Lieutenant Colonel Doyle. I want to thank him for the amount of attention and urgency that he responded in coordinating the information to the one loved one. There's only one person in this guy's family that lives in the area. And I'm happy to say, with the sense of urgency, it was met in a timely manner. But after meeting this gentleman, what I shared with Tony Weaver is, what if they didn't know how to get in touch with somebody? What if this gentleman is sitting there listening to a loved one who just said that the history is people are dying in here and I don't want to die? So there is still a sense of urgency, and in fairness, to keep it with some parity and levelness, the public health system, of all the information that I'm getting from different citizens, that is not the target, but that is the area. And I thank the county executive for spelling out what those challenges are. We hope and pray that there is not another victim, because there's this lack of services and accountability that comes specifically from the Public Health Department, which I will share those information and pass them on to the council members. So I'm just not sitting up here making statements. I want to prove, those of you who know me, I like to collect the facts before I make statements. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tashonda Troop.
Good evening, council. My name is Tashonda Troop, and I live in Pine Line. First, I do want to say thank you. I'm happy that something is getting done, that some things are changing, and that they are being disciplined for their behavior, because that's actually what my speech was today. I was going to speak on the fact that if they're never disciplined, then they're going to continue to do the same things. And to have a job and to tell an inmate, no, you can't have medical care, and this is your job, that was absurd to me. And I just didn't understand how you all would allow them to continue to stay there, but I'm glad that there was something done. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate all the changes that you said you're making, and I'm looking forward to the future to see what's better being done. But I also wanted to speak on, since Tuesday last week, I've been communicating with the sister and the mother of Daniel Stout. His sister Ashley is beside herself with grief. She lost her best friend, her support, and the one person she could talk to about anything. His mother, Angela, she's so numb from pain that she don't know where to go from here. She don't understand why her son is not here. She wants to know why her son was not given care he needed and asked for. She's torn up inside out thinking of the pain that her son was in for that hour ride to Monterey. She's beside herself knowing her son died in a painful, inhumane way. Angela asked me why, and I had no answers for her. Basically because I still don't have answers myself. And I've been wrecking my brain trying to figure some answers for her, but I don't have any. And I don't know if anybody has reached out to her and her family, but I think that you should. Somebody needs to reach out to her from the county, because I didn't get that. I didn't get anything. So somebody from the county, the jail, somebody needs to reach out to her and show her some compassion and give her some of the things I didn't get. So if you all can do that, reach out to her. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Angie Zorek.
My name is Angie Zorich. I live in Oakville for 26 years now, and I can't even read this because I was so angry when I wrote it. And I appreciate what you said. And I'm just going to ask you to continue with that. I mean, there's literally nothing I can say that I wrote down. I was so mad, and I know I've controlled my emotions and my mean thoughts about this process, and I understand that it takes time. But we have to allow people to live. If we can't keep them alive, then we need to let them go home. I don't even know what I can say from here. But I appreciate the oversight. I think that was, for me, that I think is the biggest thing that you can do to stop this from happening. If you suspend people, if you punish people, they will stop doing that. And I think that, the hiring process needs to be a little more thoughtful, but I don't really know what else to say. I appreciate what you guys have done, and we're going to keep following up with you. I really pray that no one else has to die there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brandon Casterison.
Good evening, Brandon Costerison with the National Council on Alcoholism and Drug Abuse, 9355 Olive Boulevard. We're here tonight to discuss Executive Page's proposal to collect data from the hospitals on overdoses that are survived. As part of my role at NCADA, I manage a federal grant that is doing overdose education and naloxone distribution. We are tracking heroin and opioid-related deaths. The problem is right now we are only able to track deaths. As part of our grant, we began a system whereby the general public can report the overdoses that are survived so that we're able to allocate resources to those areas. But if the general public hasn't heard about that, then there's no way to get that data. Until now, or until this proposal goes through, there's really no way to get good data on the overdoses that are being survived. So it's hard for grants like us and others to allocate our resources so as effectively as possible. Like I said, we can look at the location of death, but you know, there's some estimates that there's anywhere between 30 to 36 non-fatal overdoses per fatal overdose. So really having access to these numbers and these data points would be tremendously helpful. So we appreciate the executive's leadership in doing this. Any legislation that needs to be passed in order to require hospitals to report this data, we would fully support that, and implementation as soon as is reasonably feasible. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ed Golterman.
Members of the council, my name is Ed Golderman. I live in Kirkwood. The day that you stop sending $200 million a year in tax money into the city is the day that you will address these problems. It's the day on which you will make the personal property tax at least reasonable so you won't be bombarded with all of these very oppressed citizens who are just very, very oppressed with the level of personal property tax. It took the owners of the Fox Theater 35 years to finish off Kiel and Muni. It took them 35 years to take something big and make them small. I delayed them 19 years. I delayed them 19 years. If I hadn't delayed them 19 years, there might not be a St. Louis Blues hockey team. There might not be a cup. Charles might have only done 10 years instead of 19 years. The Opera House was activated primarily to save the St. Louis Blues hockey team. Then they tossed it away. It's doing food service. It's preparing food for the sports industry. Forest Park is just as bad. You send $60 million into Forest Park and they do more crooked deals with that money than in downtown Chicago. They use that money to build the zoo and museums into money-making machines year after year, and they use some of that tax money to crush the Muni. I would suggest, as I did 7 weeks ago, that you stop sending our tax money into Forest Park and look at downtown and stop sending whatever tax money is being abused downtown. And for a while, don't send any more in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Golterman.
Next speaker is Tom Sullivan.
Mr. Presiding Officer, I have a few things to mention, so it's always tough following Ed. First of all, County Executive brought up the Northwest leases about 3 weeks ago, said he's going to reopen them. I haven't heard anything more of what's happening with those. Perhaps he could give us some information on that. Also, I'm interested in knowing who exactly the custodian of records is for the County Executive's office. As you know, the county ordinance, it mandates that each department director is a custodian of records unless they appoint someone. Well, there's all these various departments, and it's hard to figure out who exactly is the custodian of records. On tonight's agenda, we have the supplemental appropriation that the county executive wants for his office. Started at $607,000, it's now to $539,000. I don't think there's enough information about this. There's still many questions about it. We have different jobs on different payrolls in the county executive's office. Some are charged to other departments. In his letter to the county council, Mr. Page noted that the former chief of staff was being paid by the Department of Revenue Department. Then when he hired Hazel Irby, she is on the Department of Revenue payroll. So it's hard to figure who's who and what's what, and I think that's something that needs to be straightened out. In his May 10th letter, county executive said, quote, "We are in the process of learning the extent of my predecessor's mismanagement." He went on to say the office is, quote, "a mess." So how does he come up with these amounts as to what he needs when they're still in the process of figuring out what's going on in the county executive's office? Not only that, there's numerous vacancies. I think there was 20 the last time I looked. Some of them are for example, there's 3 open positions for our senior policy advisors. Why on earth do they need that many more policy advisors when they already have some advisors and they already have a chief of staff and they have all these various other peoples? Also, I've tried to get a list of the current employees, but it has not been yet made available. I think that the county council has had a history of not giving certain things the scrutiny it needs. Northwest Plaza leases come to mind. Proposition P was a mess because nobody really looked at it very close. So I think that the county council needs to really give this some scrutiny and have some justification before you approve it. Thank you, Mr. Presiding Officer.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Next speaker is Ernie Dinoff.
Thank you very much, members of council. My name is Arnie A.C. Dinoff. I'm a public advocate, and I stand up for what's right and just. And I think that there's a lot of injustices in county government. I'm glad the county executive Page is finally standing up for responsibility and accountability of the employees underneath him. However, there's just things that need to be taken care of that aren't moving fast enough, in my opinion. Citizen Daniel Stout, who was a citizen. Yes, he had drug problems. Yes, he is on probation, but it doesn't mean that he needs to be treated like a second-class citizen. Look at this citizen. Look at his face. He was 31 years old. 31 years old to lose a life. This is the 4th death since January of this year. You, as elected officials, the buck stops right up on this dais and this platform. Changes in police, the Clayton police need to bring about change before yet we lose another life. Deputy Chief Lieutenant Colonel Doyle, I ask that you ask for accountability and that you make sure that each and every employee follows every policy and procedure under the SOPs, standard operating procedures of your department. Nothing less should be tolerated. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch and Kansas City Star stated, and I quote, "Lapses included nurses who failed to perform basic functions to treat patients or barely knew jail procedures. A guard who did not conduct a proper head count and didn't know the availability of basic medical drugs in the infirmary at the jail." That's a problem. You as elected officials need to do something about it. Not next week, this week and today. The infirmary. You as elected officials, I ask that you go and experience one night in the infirmary. Just one night. I did 1 year ago. In my experience, the nurse and nurses did not follow the protocol that was given to them from Missouri Baptist when I had a heart attack and was rushed from this courtroom to Missouri Baptist. But Michael Burton, the circuit judge, insisted that I be treated like a criminal, be shackled and handcuffed to a bed the entire time. That's ludicrous and civil rights violations. You know, Missouri Baptist said that I needed medications at particular times to make my body and my heart function and get better. But the nurses said, and I quote, Too bad, you have to wait 3 hours when I have time. We do not care how long you have to wait. Is that a way to treat another human being, another citizen in St. Louis County? The court administrator is here, and I ask that the court administrator send a clear message to Circuit Judge Michael D. Burton not to treat citizens as second-class citizens and inappropriately during their stay.
That's 3 minutes, Mr. Residing.
Thank you.
I ask, what is the name of the internal affairs officer? I ask that you put it online and make it a public record. What is the name of the compliance officer? As Mr. Tom Sullivan stated, we have issues with Chapter 610. I want to know who treated me wrongly and request the information, but nobody at the Department of Corrections can tell me how to file an internal affairs complaint, where the form is, and who the internal affairs officer is. I am demanding right here, right now, under Chapter 610, and I'll finish, Mr. Chairman. My request is verbally, I'd like to know who the internal affairs officer is in the Department of Corrections, and I'd like an internal affairs form to be provided to me. My email address is ARNIE, D as in David, IENOFF@yahoo.com. And Mr. County Chairman, or Mr. County Executive, I ask that you appoint somebody on the County Review Commission, and not only that, make it a police commission, change the county charter, and let them have interview, investigative, and subpoena powers. And let's get some real changes here in St. Louis County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dinoff.
Final speaker this evening is Paul Hartman.
She signed up.
She's already called her name.
That was at the other.
That was
That
like
was
third
at
or
the, I think she signed up on the.
Yeah, you signed up on a different meetings list.
Well, I didn't know, I think it was right there, I asked that when I first got here.
It was the list for that meeting, yes.
It was for the earlier hearing?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was right outside the door.
Right, we had a meeting in here.
Okay. Let's proceed with the next speaker.
Paul Hartman?
See that here? Okay, it's going to pass. Ms. Brooks, I would very much like to permit you to speak. However, we do have process and a procedure. In fact, Mr. Dinoff has been subject to this very issue himself, where he arrived too late to sign up, and so it makes it very cumbersome. If I may start making exceptions, the list can.
Well, I actually was here earlier.
I understand.
But they told me the wrong list. I was here on time.
No, I think you signed up on the right list. You spoke at the hearing concerning.
No, I'm not talking about that. When I left that meeting there, I came right outside the door.
Ms. Brooks signed up for the meeting that was here in the chamber.
I signed up both of them. I left out of there and I came right outside the door.
Right, but there was a separate meeting after that. And so we did call her during that meeting and she wasn't in the room.
Let
I
me,
thought it was a meeting for this time right here, that's why I signed up. I was signed up.
And the meeting subject and everything is
I
the
understand.
topic.
I'm sorry, Ms. Brooks, we're going to have to proceed tonight.
I think it's totally unfair, because I said, I did not know that you all had a meeting back then. I was trying to, I wasn't here for that.
I understand that, but I can't make exceptions for one and not for another.
Because I asked the guy, was it for the city council, to be the county council meeting, and he said, yes, that's why I signed it.
All right. Let's go ahead and proceed with the introduction of bills.
Bill number 155, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $94,144 to the Missouri Department of Public Safety for support of a forensic scientist and crime laboratory equipment for the police department, authorizing the county executive to execute necessary documents. Bill number 156, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to accept a grant of up to $19,680 from the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services in support of the violent death and enhanced opioid surveillance program and authorizing execution of related documents. Bill number 157, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance appropriating and setting apart $35,000 from the unappropriated balance of the general fund for payment of legal fees and costs associated with litigating a lawsuit brought by Valley Park concerning the Boundary Commission. Bill number 158, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services for development of a pesticide resistance monitoring component of the Integrated Pest Management Program. Bill number 159, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an emergency ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract with the Salvation Army for operation of a cooling shelter and declaring an emergency. Bill number 160, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a contract and up to one renewal with Arthur J. Gallagher Risk Management Services Incorporated for risk management and insurance brokerage consulting services. Bill number 161, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray, an ordinance appropriating the amount of $520,000 of Proposition P funds from the unappropriated balance of the general fund for the support of the contract with ShotSpotter Incorporated, authorized by ordinance number 27,315. Bill number 162, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance approving acceptance of donation of $1,600 from Antoinette Barnes and appropriating same for support of the Project Guns Undermine Neighborhood Safety Program. Bill number 163, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending Title V, Chapter 502, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended, levying collection of taxes by repealing and reenacting Section 502.410, continuing an emergency telephone tax. Bill number 164, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance authorizing St. Louis County, Missouri to issue its taxable industrial revenue bonds, EDGE at BRDG LLC Project Series 2019, in a principal amount not to exceed $51 million, and its taxable industrial revenue bond, CV EDGE at West LLC Project Series 2019, in a principal amount not to exceed $28 million for the purpose of providing funds to pay for the cost of acquiring, constructing, and improving industrial development projects in the county, approving plans for the projects, and authorizing the county executive and director of administration to enter into certain agreements and take certain other actions in connection with the issuance of the bonds. Mr. Presiding Officer, that is all it is.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'm going to move to suspend the rules at this time. And for the purposes of allowing Ms. Brooks to give us her statement. Is there a second?
Second. Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Ms. Brooks, we'll hear from you.
Ms. Brooks, could you give us your first name again, please?
My name is Erica M. Brooks. I'm a resident of Ferguson, Missouri. I'm a concerned parent.
Ms. Brooks, before you start, I just remind you that we have a 3-minute limit.
Okay.
I'll give you some grace, but if you could try to keep your remarks within that time frame.
Thank you very much. I appreciate this. I'm a concerned parent. I'm a Ferguson resident, taxpaying registered voter, and a bus rider on bus number 79 between Suburban and Dade, as well as South Florissant. This evening, I'm here to follow up. I've been here before previously talking about saving bus route 79 in Ferguson, Missouri. And you all have known that I've been on this campaign to save this bus route since March 9th of this year, because I found out about it through Facebook. It just popped up on my page. But throughout my journey of campaigning out here in the community, knocking on doors, getting a petition, and also almost being arrested, as well as, talking to various officials, citizens like Mr. Reverend Duval, various people out here trying to get help and connect with people. I also had to come to the point of speaking to my state rep after emailing U.S. Congressman Clay, also Senator Brian Williams, State Rep Prouty, as well as the Transportation Committee. And State Rep Prouty, she was the first one to call me within an hour of my email, and she's been my mediator between Metro at this point. And so we're at the stage of filling out a survey, the survey here that shows 3 routes. And one says, the first option says, we just want to run down South Florissant, which is not going to service the whole community. The second one says, well, we're just going to go down Suburban and Dade, which is not going to service the whole community. The next one says, the last one, which is option 3, services Suburban and Dade as well as South Florissant, alternating routes throughout the day and night. And so, like I said, I've been out in the community. I also reached out to when they had their Friday series concert last Friday. And Mayor Ferguson, James Knowles, he did sign the petition. Well, not the petition, but the survey. I had Honorable Hazel Irby, she signed it. You had also Honorable Betty Thompson, she signed it. Honorable Yafet Alameen, she signed it. I've had like various officials as well as various people. I have like 100-some signatures since the 13th of this month that actually participated. And being in your hearing today with Bi-State presenting their budget, Jessica Milford Miller, she did address the fact that they are considering Route 3 to be able to confirm that. And so I want to let the public know that we are working on saving Bus Route 79, and they have considered saving Bus Route 79 with those alterations, alternate between Suburban and Dade, and then also South Florida. So I just want to let the public know what's going on, and also if they want to reach out to me to sign this survey, my name is Erica M. Brooks. My number is 314-243-2805, and my email address is erimon2@yahoo.com. Thank you.
Ms. Brooks, before you leave, I'll make a suggestion that maybe you want to leave that copy of the survey with the clerk so we can make it part of the record.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks. I think we'll move to perfection at this time.
Bill number 17, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
Please hold on the order of business.
Bill number 17 is held.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please hold. Bill number 20 is held.
Bill number 102, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
Please hold.
Bill number 102 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 145, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold on the order of business, and that'll be the order. Oh, I take that back. Let me back up a minute. I think we have a substitute, right? We already have it? Yeah.
It is substitute 1 is.
Okay, substitute. Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, we'll hold substitute bill. Substitute 1 for Bill number 145, and that's the order.
Bill number 148, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 148.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 148 is perfected.
Bill number 149, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 149.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 149 is perfected.
Bill number 150, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 150.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill 150 is perfected.
Bill number 151, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Go ahead.
I would like to, this has to do with the contract for the Justice Services regarding telecommunication services for inmates, and I would like more time to consider this. I don't take lightly any consideration involving the Justice Center right now, and would like more time. So I would
Very well.
request you hold.
Move to hold Bill number 151, and Bill number 151 will be held.
Bill number 152, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 152.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 152 is perfected.
Bill number 153, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to perfect Bill number 153.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 153 is perfected.
Bill number 154, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
We're going to hold Bill number 154, and that will be the order. Final passage.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 76, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move to hold substitute Bill 1 for Bill number 76. And substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 76 is held.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 83, introduced by Councilmembers Tracus, Harder, and Fitch.
I'll move to hold substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 83, and substitute 1 for Bill 83 is held.
Bill number 136, introduced by Councilmember Tracus. Mr. Presiding Officer, we have a substitute bill.
Can you read the substitute bill, please?
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 136, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance appropriating and setting apart the sum of $539,277 from the unappropriated balance of the General Revenue Fund for support of the Office of the County Executive.
Move to adopt substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 136.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Substitute Bill 1 for Bill number 136 is adopted. And we'll hold substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 136.
Bill number 139, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 139.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Excuse me, aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 139, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 139 is finally passed.
Bill number 140, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 140.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 140, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 140 is finally passed.
Bill number 141, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 141.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 141, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 141 is finally passed.
Bill number 142, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 142.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 142, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 142 is finally passed.
Bill number 143, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 143.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 143, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 143 is finally passed.
Bill number 144, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 144.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 144, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 144 is finally passed.
Bill number 146, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 146.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 146, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 146 is finally passed.
Bill number 147, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for final passage of Bill number 147.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on Bill number 147, there are 5 ayes.
Bill number 147 is finally passed.
Moving on to resolutions, sir, we have 2 additional resolutions this evening. Resolution number 2, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Move for adoption of resolution number 2.
Second.
Call the roll.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on resolution number 2, there are 5 ayes.
Very well, motion carries. Resolution number 2 is adopted.
Resolution number 3, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for adoption of resolution number 3.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Fitch.
Aye.
Councilmember Gray.
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy.
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus.
Aye.
Councilmember Harder.
Aye.
Mr. Presiding Officer, on resolution number 3, there are 5 ayes.
Motion carries then, and resolution number 3 is adopted.
Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Presiding Officer, item number 1, 3rd District.
Please hold on the order of business, same motion for items 2 and 3.
So ordered.
Item number 4, 7th District.
Receive and file and the subdivision plat be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 5, 3rd District.
Please hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 6, 2nd District.
The new liquor license be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And Mr. Presiding Officer, moving on to new business, we have 1 prepared order this evening.
I move for the adoption of order number 1.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Order number 1 is adopted. Any other business? Mr. Hart.
Yes, I'd like to make an announcement for those that are still left here, that Councilman Fitch and I will be having a public forum town hall in Manchester next Tuesday morning at noon to discuss the St. Louis County Assessor's property issues and to talk about the assessment of this year and the appeal process, and be able to have citizens come and talk about that at that meeting. And they will be held at the Manchester Police Facility, which is 200 Highlands Boulevard in Manchester, right at Manchester and 141. And that will be at noon till roughly 1:30 on the 26th. So, or 25th, Tuesday the 25th.
And then similarly, Councilman TRAKAS and I are collaborating with the County Assessor's Office on a couple of town halls. We have our town hall on Thursday, this Thursday, the 20th at 1 o'clock at the Pavilion at Limay. And then we also are doing one on June 29th, which is a Saturday morning at 9 a.m. at the Afton Community Center. Did I get that right?
Yes.
Location? Okay, so hopefully everyone who has questions and would like to have an opportunity to better understand the process and ask questions of our assessor, Mr. Zimmerman, can have a chance to go to one of these town halls.
I'd also like to add that anyone can go to any of those sessions, no matter where they are, or you can go to all of them if you wish. So,
Anything further? Motion to adjourn?
motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.